Now we get to my top 10 and my top 20 best Fox shows. Number 10. I know some of y'all will say that this show should have been my number one, but it's in my top 10. The Simpsons. The Simpsons, I gotta say, The Simpsons was in its prime between 1989 and 2003. But since 2004, I think The Simpsons kind of fell off. But I'm glad the show's still going to this day, even though I like the earlier seasons better than the later ones. The Simpsons influenced other adult animated cartoons like Duckman, Beavis and Butthead, Daria, King of the Hill, South Park, Family Guy, American Dad, Rick and Morty, Bob's Burgers, The Critic, Dilbert, Gary and Mike, Celebrity Deathmatch. The list goes on of all the adult cartoons that The Simpsons influenced. Has such a great cast. I can't wait for the 35th anniversary in December. So The Simpsons is my number 10. And this is the third Fox cartoon show that I have on here. The first one was Bob's Burgers, second Family Guy, and now The Simpsons. Number 9 is the fourth cartoon show from Fox I have on here. Also created by Matt Groening, Futurama is my number 9. And yes, I put Futurama over The Simpsons because I like Futurama a little bit more than The Simpsons. I like both shows, but I like Futurama better than The Simpsons. Futurama is so underrated. Congrats to the cast and crew on 25 years of the show. And the show is still airing 25 years later. Despite that it was canceled twice, I'm glad the show is still going. Not to mention about The Simpsons, I like that crossover between The Simpsons and Family Guy. That was a funny crossover. And I'm glad Matt Groening decided to do a crossover between Futurama and The Simpsons. I was wondering when they're going to have a crossover between these two shows, since they're both created by Matt Groening. And I'm glad that actually happened. That crossover between Futurama and The Simpsons. And it was good to see Futurama back on Fox for the first time since 2003. Once again, congrats to the cast and crew on 25 years of Futurama, and the theme song still slaps to this day. Number 8, King of the Hill. In early 1995, after the first successful run of Beavis and Butthead on MTV, Mike Judge decided to create another cartoon for Fox, which is King of the Hill. And like I said before, I like King of the Hill a little bit more than Beavis and Butthead. I'm a fan of both shows, but I like King of the Hill a little bit better. Mike Judge did an excellent job on this show after his first success of Beavis and Butthead. My favorite episode of the show has to be the episode where Bill, Hank, Boomhauer, and Dale was playing paintball against Green Day. And another one of my favorites, Bobby Goes Nuts. That's the one where he goes to the YMCA and learns how to kick people in the nuts. That's my favorite, two of my favorite episodes of King of the Hill. And King of the Hill is coming back on Hulu. But who's going to do the voice of Dale now that Johnny Hardwick is no longer with us? We have 3 cast members of King of the Hill that are deceased. Brittany Murphy, Tom Perry, and now Johnny Hardwick. But I can't wait till King of the Hill comes back on Hulu sometime this year. Number 7, Married with Children. This is one of Fox's first ever primetime shows. And the theme song of the show never gets old. Married with Children is a funny show. This is the second show on Fox I have on this list that ran for a decade, from 1987 to 1997. Married with Children is such a funny show. And I believe the cast reunited, I believe, during Fox's 25th anniversary in 2012. Married with Children is still funny. Katie Seagal has to be my favorite cast member of that show, because after Married with Children ended, she went on to voice Leela on Futurama. I love Married with Children. It's a funny show. That's my number 7. Number 6, The Bernie Mac Show. I was trying to find out, should I put The Bernie Mac Show at my top 10 or in my top 5? I had to put it in my top 10. It's my number 6. We all know this show is based on Bernie's real life situation about his sister being on drugs, and he has to take his sister's kids in. Bernie Mac's show is still, without a doubt, one of the most underrated, funniest sitcoms of the early 2000s. But the show pretty much ended on a cliffhanger because we never knew if Bernie and Wanda was going to have a child of their own. Unlike the real Bernie Mac, the character Bernie Mac was married with no children, but in real life, he was married with one daughter. Rest in peace to Bernie Mac. I'm glad I got this show in my top 10. Shout out to Kalita Smith, Camille Winbush, Jeremy Suarez, and Dee Dee Davis. Now we get to my top 5. Number 5, Party of 5. Party of 5 deserves to be in my top 5. I can't wait for the 30th anniversary on National Video Game Day, September 12th. This show is about 5 siblings living on their own after their parents was killed in a car accident. And like I said before, I prefer Party of 5 over Friends, to be honest. I feel like Party of 5 should have kept going until like the mid-2000s. Party of 5 definitely had its ups and downs. It's one of my favorite teen drama shows. It was struggling during the first 2 seasons and it was this close to being canceled, but I'm glad Fox renewed it for 4 more seasons. And Jennifer Love Hewitt, who played Sarah on the show, she left the show after season 6, episode 2, to have her own spinoff show, A Party of 5, A Time of Your Life. Another show that Fox did dirty. That's also my honorable mentions. And that show will be 25 this October. But I can't wait to Party of 5's 30th anniversary in September. And the theme song never gets old. Shout out to Neve Campbell, Lacey Chabert, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Matt Fox, and Scott Wolf. My number 4 is a tie. Number 4, Cops and America's Most Wanted. America's Most Wanted was a great show. It was the longest running show on Fox until it was canceled in 2011. Then Lifetime picked the show up for just 1 season. And then a decade later, Fox actually brought the show back. And we're still waiting on for America's Most Wanted to come back with another season. I'm glad Fox made the right decision to bring the show back after it was gone from their channel for a decade. America's Most Wanted is a great show. That show dominated Fox's Saturday night lineup along with Cops. Cops is without a doubt my favorite reality show, and I'm glad it's still going 35 years later. I want to thank all the men and women of law enforcement for catching these suspects. What you see on Cops is real. Nothing fake about this show. The first 25 seasons aired on Fox. Seasons 26 through 32 aired on Spike TV/Paramount Network, and the show is streaming on Fox Nation as of season 33. Congrats to the cast and crew. Congrats to the crew on 35 years of Cops. I'm glad it's still going. I think y'all should know what my top 3 are. These 3 shows dominated Fox's Thursday night lineup. New York Undercover is my number 3. This show will also be 30 years old, 4 days before Party of 5 turns 30. Malik Yoba and Michael DiLorenzo, they make a great TV cop duo. But I pretty much stopped watching the show after the 3rd season because they killed off Detective Torres's character. Season 4 is what caused the show to go downhill. But this show is without a doubt one of the best drama cop shows of all time. I'm glad I got it in my top 3. Number 2 is Living Single. This was the Friends before the Friends. Had an amazing cast. Queen Latifah, Kim Coles, Kim Fields Freeman, John Hinton, Erica Alexander, and T.C. Carson. Shout out to Yvette Lee Bowser for making this amazing Black sitcom. That was The Friends Before the Friends. And my number one best Fox show of all time, Martin. 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 Martin is my number one. Hands down the best Black sitcom of the 90s. I had to put Martin as my number one because this is the best Fox show in my opinion. We all know this show came to an ugly end in 1997 due to Tisha Campbell filing a lawsuit against Martin for sexual harassment, but I'm glad they reconciled in 2018. And if you don't know, Martin is now streaming on Netflix, and I still watch the show to this day. It is still hilarious. Shout out to Martin Lawrence, Tisha Campbell, Carl Anthony Payne II, and Tashina Arnold. And rest in peace to Tommy Ford. That wraps up my list revealing my top 20 best shows from Fox. Let me know which Fox show would be your number one. If you're new here, hit subscribe, hit that notification bell for my next video. Give this video a thumbs up, leave your comment down below. I'll be back tomorrow to do a recap of the Lakers versus the Raptors, the Knicks versus the Heat, and the Mavs versus the Warriors. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. No more talk.